Hi, my name is Nikita Vasilchenko. I'm the director of Bloody First Date and Soulcatcher. So, my love for the genre began when actually I watched Evil Dead, the original one, at a very young age. And I don't know, not that I was afraid, but it just kind of, left an impact on me. And later on, I watched Aliens by James Cameron. And there was this certain scene where one of the residents of the colony, they were hanged in this area, and a chest burster, burst out of the chest. And that scene, it stayed for me for such a long time. But I think the first Evil Dead, yes, that's like without that movie, I don't know if I would have been that much into horror, but that movie was just such an impact on pretty much everything when it comes to my movies. So yeah, I think the first Evil Dead, that's what brought me to this genre. Yeah, actually, when I was 8 years old, I watched The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and like a short time after that, maybe a few weeks later, I watched The Matrix. And those films, I mean, still to this day, I think those two movies are just masterpieces. And I mean, The Mummy is like an entertaining piece, and The Matrix is like this very mind-blowing, gigantic step for the movie industry at that time. I mean, obviously I didn't know, I was 8 years old, so but after watching these two films, after watching Brent Fraser and Keanu Reeves, I just knew when I grow up, I want to do something in that industry. That's like, I knew it from the very beginning. And actually, that idea didn't change when I finished school. So I was done, and I knew that film was the only way I wanted to head to. So, yeah, those two movies, they're like, yeah, without Brendan Fraser and Keanu Reeves, I wouldn't do movies. I think I wouldn't do them. So, yes, thanks to those two guys, and yeah, it started at a young age, and I went through with it. So the story for Bloody First Date, that was actually pretty funny. So I woke up one day, thankfully, and Kirsty, the main actress of Bloody First Date and Soulcatcher, she wrote me a message that she was, she wanted to do a short. So I just said, oh well, I'm done with the job I had at the moment. So I kind of had a few weeks off. So I said, why not? And I tried to come up over the day with an idea. So I had like this deadline. So I have this one day, and in one day I should come up with an idea. And funny enough, at the time, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos about cursed objects from eBay. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that eBay has like in the guidelines that you're like, you cannot sell cursed items on eBay. So it's like forbidden to sell cursed items on eBay. It's like in their guidelines. Never checked it myself, but it could be. Why not? So I thought maybe we could do something with this. And yeah, then I just mixed a few things up, and I thought about, okay, how are we gonna evolve those two characters, and how can we make it like very unexpected, very bloody, very very out there. Like when the viewer watches the movie, that at some point he's like, "What the hell is going on?" So that was the plan, and we started off with this eBay idea that the guy buys the stuff from eBay, these cursed items, and most of the times those things didn't do much. So we thought, okay, what if we twist it around, and if everything he buys on eBay is like literally cursed, and all of those evil monster characters just come to life at the very same moment, and just shred the guy to pieces. So yeah, that was our idea. Started very innocent and escalated pretty quickly. So, and about the Soulcatcher, so again, Kerstin was very involved in this, and another friend of mine, Simon Kösters. So he came up with like an outline for the idea, what he wanted to have, and we discussed it, and a lot of things came on the very day of the shooting. So we didn't really have a script. We had just ideas and outlines, and we wanted to come up with stuff as we went along. And I think it worked out pretty cool, pretty well, and also pretty scary because, compared to Bloody First Date, which is like, going onto the fantasy genre, this one is like very grounded in reality. And yeah, I think it's just, all in all, it's a very sad, very, very cruel and very evil story. And I think Kerstin really put her heart into this one, and the viewer, they can definitely see it. So yeah, two very different movies, but I'm glad that they're both selected in the festival. So I'm can't wait to see what the viewers have to say about them. So the most challenging part, especially when you're doing a movie that is very low budget, the problem is that you're not only the director, so you have to do a lot of things yourself that normally, like in a big production, you obviously, when the credits roll, you have so many people working on this movie, and as a director on such a low budget project, you often have to do a lot of things yourself. So you have like the entire planning stage of the movie, the schedule, and the entire organization. It like falls on your shoulders, or maybe not only on yours, but like on your main star and on yours. So just besides directing the movie, starring in the movie, you have to prepare everything for the movie. And especially with Bloody First Date, because we wanted to do it very fast and quickly, because we both work better when we have a deadline. So it's easier for us. We just it was crazy. Just coming up with an idea within a day, writing the script, just buying all that stuff, knowing what we would like to have, then making sure we have those people available at that time on those days. And towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where everybody who was involved in the film is like, everybody's in one scene. And for example, that scene, it was the obviously the wide shot where everybody was in. So but when we going into close-ups, it was more like, okay, those guys had to leave like on the other side of the table. So when we were shooting this side, those guys, they were already like at home and like long gone. So but that's how movie magic works, I guess. But it's very, very challenging because most of the people who worked in the movie were like working in the industry, so it's fine. But there were some who like had normal jobs they had to attend to, so they're like, yeah, I can't take free. So we had to work around that, and yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the organization of this whole thing was incredible, and that was very challenging, but it's always nice to see the rewards for such a hard job, because filming a movie is a very hard job. So seeing like a nomination and seeing like, okay, that was selected in a festival, it's great, because it just shows you, okay, you didn't do it for nothing. It was like, people like what you do, or at least some people in some categories like what you do. So yeah, that was very that shoot was very challenging, but in the end very rewarding. And when it came to Soulcatcher, that movie was shot in one day. So, and they were like, we only had 2 actors in this, and this shoot was, well, the thing is, like, the organization and preparation was a lot easier, obviously. The thing is that this movie, it had the scene where Cassian's character is trapped. That was very intense to shoot, because she was, I wanted her to be on the edge. I brought her to that point. And I mean, it's always hard shooting scenes like this, and it's always hard shooting scenes like this so that they're authentic enough, that they're not over the top. Because the acting in Bloody Thursday is like over the top, obviously, because this specific genre demands it. But Soulcatcher is very different. It's a very serious film, and just, you know, acting wise, bringing this to life, that was very, very challenging, but it turned out great in the end, so I really liked it. And because it was also nominated, it's it just, especially because Cassian is nominated, it's incredibly great to see. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with it in the end. Ooh, that's a hard one. So, the thing is, I don't really think that a lot of horror movies are scary. So when I like search for this thrill, for this, you know, when I want to be scared, I watch either like true crime documentaries or like play video games. I think they're scarier than most movies, but I think one of the best horror movies I've ever seen in my entire life is the Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere. I think that film is like, it gets freezes like my heart, my blood, everything in my body when I watch this film. It's just so incredibly well made, so well done. It has such an interesting topic, and based on a true story. I mean, how all of those movies are. So the Mothman Prophecies, I think that's one of the like best horror movies ever made. And obviously I love Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, Evil Dead. So, but those movies, they don't really scare me. They're just, you know, very fun to watch. So I think the last really great horror movie I watched was Malignant from James Wan, and I was always curious why James Wan would go to make a completely original horror movie, because he had The Conjuring and all this other stuff, but it was such a crazy film, obviously completely over the top, but it was so much fun to watch this. I think, yeah, that might be one of my favorite horror movies in recent memory I've watched, actually. Malignant, yes, that was great. So, thank you once again for selecting our movies to your festival, and I wish you and the viewer a pleasant watch.